Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. I've got another question for you. What do you buy if you want a large executive saloon car, but you're turned off by the Mercedes E-Class, the Audi A6, the BMW 5 Series? I get it, they're just too common and a little bit too garish for your subtle, classy taste. I totally understand. Well, get your carpet slippers ready because today, I think I've got the answer. It's this 2014 Volvo S80, which is a car that's very rare, quite unusual, and I think it fits the bill perfectly. The S80 is a large executive saloon car which was available from 1998 until 2016. The first generation ran from 1998 until 2006, and I've had quite a few of those over the years, usually in part exchanges that I've given £500 or £600 for, and I can quite easily say they're some of the most comfortable cars you can buy. You know, outside of Bentley and Rolls anyway. The car I'm in today is a second generation which ran from 2006 until 2016, when it was replaced with the beautiful S90, which I've done a video on, so you might want to go and check that out. In fact, I'll leave a link to that video at the end of this video. It's a weird one, this, because although it's 4.8 metres long and 2.1 metres wide, it's so subtle, you just wouldn't look twice at it. Unless, of course, you're a car nerd, in which case the opposite is true. Every time you see an S80, you'll be salivating, like a dog watching their owner eat their dinner. In my opinion, styling-wise, I think they've gone a little bit too far with it. It's just a bit too plain and too dull. Having said that, that could probably be viewed as a positive thing. Nobody will look at you in this and think that you're earning too much money. In fact, nobody will look at you in this at all. It's so anonymous, this, it might as well be invisible. I'm not saying it's bad looking, it's just 5 metres of car. I do like the twin exhausts though, they look quite purposeful. I also like the crest you get on the rear pillar, it's quite regal. In its 10-year lifespan, the S80's had 2 facelifts, making this a sort of automotive Joan Rivers. The first was in 2009, where it got a slightly upgraded interior and exterior, and they tweaked the D5 engine. And the next was in 2013, where it got a more modern, wider grille, LED DRLs, and LED rear lights, which makes the car look a whole lot more modern. If your budget had stretch, I would recommend going for one of those post-2013 models, because it just looks more relevant in today's world. Anyway, let's forget the styling for now, because I think the real selling point of the S80 lies on the inside. It makes me kind of nostalgic, this car. It's like being sat in your grandparents' living room. It has all the things that you'd expect to find in your grandparents' living room too. Leather, wood, an analogue clock, the arches. Honestly, it's so effortless and relaxing to drive. I've had more stressful baths. As you waft along anonymously, you can have some heat applied to your back, and you can even have a massage. This might all sound a little bit distracting while you're driving, whilst you should be focusing on the road ahead. In any other car it would be, but not in this. Thanks to the clever Swedes, you needn't worry, they've got your back. This is one of the safest cars on the road. And I'm not just talking about you and your passengers, it's safe for everybody. Cyclists, pedestrians, everyone. Meaning you can just sit back and relax and soak up the miles whilst getting your coccyx rubbed. Coccyx, I said, it's the lower part of your spine. Honestly, get your minds out of the gutter. All jokes aside, it's so well appointed, this. The leather's nice and soft. The seats are extremely comfortable. Visibility's superb. You get some storage down here and 2 cup holders. And they're illuminated. How cool's that? You can tell this car was designed in a country that bought us IKEA. You get heated and cooled seats, which strangely, I've never seen this in any other car before, you can have them both on at the same time. Quite why, I don't know. In fact, if my surname were Demuro, I'd call that a quirk, but it isn't, so I shan't. You get satellite navigation, which is a nice crisp display, thanks to its TFT screen. The same goes with the gauge cluster too. Thinking about it, I think it's the same as the V40 I've got in stock. Anyway, I like it. You also get digital DAB radio, which annoyingly for me never seems to work in the Greater Manchester area, but I'm told works faultlessly anywhere else. One thing I don't like actually, and this is true of all Volvos of this era, is how difficult it is to change radio station. Now, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I like to change radio stations as frequently as the Kardashians like to change their spouses. So I like a nice simple operation, and this kind of isn't. You've got this rotary dial here, where you can select some stations, and then press OK. I mean, it's not rocket science, but it's just not as easy as it could or should be. Might be nitpicking there. Moving back, there's loads of legroom, and the rear seats are heated too. You know, for the Chinese market, they even made a long wheelbase version of this. Heading back further still, the boot offers 422 litres of space, which is good enough, but it does lag behind some of the Germans. There are lots of different engines to choose from. Here in Europe, as you've probably guessed, the diesel was the most popular. This particular one is the D5, so that uses a 2.4 litre 5-cylinder turbo diesel, which produces 215 brake horsepower. So it's really no slouch. Feels very punchy actually. As I've said before though, I'm not a huge fan of the D5. I know I'm in the minority there because most people love them, but I just don't like the noise it makes. I mean, seriously, do you think this is a nice noise? I don't think it is. I mean, it's not like nails on a chalkboard or a crying baby on a long-haul flight, but it doesn't make you go, oh yeah. Or does it? Doesn't for me anyway. Good job then, you can drown it out with this premium sound system, which, as always, is excellent. I've just suddenly, out of nowhere, got a white Evoque that wants to see the contents of my boot. Must be late for a nail appointment. There were quite a few more diesels to choose from with varying horsepower, or there was a 3.2 litre straight-six petrol, which hardly anybody bought, or rarer still was a V8 petrol, which was actually produced by Yamaha in Japan. I've seen one in my life, and that was in Puerto Banús Harbour. I remember everybody else flocking to all like the Ferraris and stuff, and I was just looking around this Volvo, looking at all the V8 badges, because I'm an absolute loser. In terms of what it's like to drive, it isn't a 5 Series. I would say it kind of drives like an Audi A6 or a Mercedes E-Class. Under heavy acceleration, you get a little bit of torque steer. The steering's a little bit on the numb side. There's nothing wrong with it. It drives very well, but it isn't a 5 Series. The 5 Series just always seems to have the edge, which is why I always recommend them to people. I just think they're great. One thing I don't like actually, and this is true of all Volvos from this era, is the electronic handbrake. It's stupid. Happily though, because this is an automatic, it's not strictly necessary. Speaking of autos, some S80s use the Ford PowerShift automatic gearbox, which is about as reliable as a British weather forecast, i.e. not very. It's crucial you service them. You must service them or else it'll die. It's as simple as that. They're about as tough and hardy as a dandelion. In terms of engine servicing, Volvo reckon that you can go 2 years or 18,000 miles between services, which I just would not recommend you do. For the sake of 80 or 100 quid's worth of fresh oil and filter, just get it done every year or every 10,000 miles. I don't know why some manufacturers recommend that. It just can't do your engine good. Reliability-wise, if you go for a diesel, which if you're in Europe you probably will, you've just got the standard diesel issues. So you could have an issue with the turbo, the EGR, the DPF, the oil cooler, standard run-of-the-mill diesel issues. In terms of running costs, you'll do about 30 miles per gallon round town, and about 55 on a motorway run. The road tax here in the UK is only £220 a year, so they're all fairly sensible figures. This particular D5 will do 0 to 60 in just under 8 seconds, and it'll keep going until it gets to about 140 miles an hour. Used prices here in the UK start at around £2,000, but all that's going to get you is a very high mileage example from 2006. £5,000 will get you a nice facelift from 2009 to 2010, and £10,000 should get you a nice facelift from 2013 or 14. So there's something for all budgets really, and if you were to slap on a cheap private plate, nobody would know what year it was. The funny thing was actually, I was driving into Manchester today and I saw an S90 Volvo with a cool private reg on. The reg was N10, which on its own is probably worth 50 grand. So I drove a little bit closer and I noticed a crest on one of the rear doors. So it's obviously like a mayoral car, and it makes perfect sense. This car would be perfect for that too. I mean, think about it. It's great for its occupants to travel around in comfort and safety. And the negative general public won't think they've wasted thousands on some flash Mercedes or Audi. Quite clever really. There aren't many cars that could pull that off. There you go then, the Volvo S80, the Swedish Mercedes. If you're the mayor of a small town and you want something very comfortable, but you don't want the taxpayers to think that you're wasting the money, buy one of these. How's that for niche advice? Well, thank you once again for watching. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. If you've got any comments or questions, let me know below and I'll do my best to get back to you. If you're interested in getting into the used car business, then check out my online course. I've created an online portal with nearly 100 videos which explain every single aspect of the used motor trade. How to start, funding options, branding, where to buy stock from, how to prepare cars for sale. It's all there, so do check it out. So yeah, cheers guys. See you next time.